Hi there, it's Peter Temple, the Truth Sage, with a relatively short video on how to decline a summons. Now, a lot of court summonses are flying around these days, and people are not used to some of the fraud that's going on, the corruption in the courts, and so they do not know how to deal with this, and it's a little bit fearful. But, you know, it's not at all. You can stay out of going to court within the first 3 days, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So this has to do with you being a living man or woman, and so you need to know about your straw man. And you also need to understand that you have something, your straw man is really a legal fiction. So it's called a legal fiction in capital letters. And this is your name in capital letters used criminally. You know, it's part of this huge corruption going on. And it is not you. It is your birth certificate. It denotes a corporation when you see your name in capital letters. And it means that they are trying to get a trust that you've got. And a trust has got lots of money in it, and they are trying to steal money from you. And so it is complete fraud and corruption, and you need to know how to stay out of this court system, and this is how to do it. Okay, so let me just go over some general things. First of all, contracts rule the world right now. And that has a lot to do with your straw man. A corporation can only sue a corporation in the maritime law system, which is the fraudulent law system, the law of the sea that we have right now. They cannot sue a living man or woman. That is your name in upper and lower case. It's your God-given name. So they can't sue you directly, so that they've made up this corporate name attached to your birth certificate, which is attached to a trust with a lot of money that you have in it. And that name has to be in capital letters, and then you admit that you're the same person as that name in capital letters, and they've got you in a contract. They've contracted with your birth certificate, but it's not you, and then you think it's you, and so you end up paying them and doing all the things that they tell you to do. And let's stop doing that, okay? Let's just stop. A summons is an offer to contract with a corporation. It is an offer to contract. It is not a contract. You don't have to do anything. Certainly, after you're not going to do anything after the first 3 days, and you reply back to them in the way I'm going to show you. As in any contract or subscription, etc., by law, you have 3 days to decline or rescind any contract you've signed. Okay, that's, anything that you have signed. If you signed a contract, you have 3 days to back out of it. And that is, you don't have to give a reason. You just say, no, I do not want to contract with you, and then that contract or subscription is over. And they cannot come back and say to you, well, we can't cancel the contract. I've had them do it. That's against the law, and you can sue them for that for some pretty big bucks. So this is the process you use, and this has worked. I've seen it work up to a half a dozen times. I can't get people to go into the court to actually file a document, which, a lot of people are too scared. But, it's very easy, and you can actually have somebody do it for you. So it takes a lot of the fear out of it and trepidation. So knowledge is power. The more you know, the more freedom you have. All right, and that's what is the basis of what I'm going to show you. So let's look at an example summons here. This is actually one from Edmonton, Alberta in Canada, but it's the same. We've had this done in the US and Canada, and it just works. Okay, so this is coming from the court. You need to see, I've blacked it out here, but there will be a court file number. And it's very important that you use this document. And what I would suggest you do, if you're a little bit nervous about this in terms of filling this out, is make yourself a couple of copies of this. And if you don't have a printer or something, a way that you can copy it and print it out, then you might just go to Staples and get them to make a few copies of it. Like put it on some sort of a little key drive or something like that, and take it into Staples. It costs virtually nothing for them to print out a couple of pages, but it gives you somewhere to practice on, so that you get it right. And if you're dealing with me, I always like to, look at something you've done and say, yeah, that's absolutely correct. Let's go for it. So a court summons, as I said, is an offer to contract. This is an example summons. I've blacked out the file number of the court, and I've blacked out the name of the person. But everything else is a sort of a normal. And these look different. It's pretty normal. This is one having to do with ending up with them trying to steal your land, but it's a mortgage one, all right? So that's what you're getting in this case, but it doesn't matter what it is. And this is the same with tickets and citations as well. It's the same sort of process, but this is specifically about the court. So you've got that 3-day rule. You need to decline the offer with 3 days, and that means it needs to be filed with the clerk in the court. So you need somebody to go into the court, and it can be you, and file it, and you don't say no, because they can't lawfully stop you from defending yourself, all right? And I'll go through that in the summary. So 3-day rule, otherwise called 72 hours, and so that's where you start. And then what you do is you take this summons and you write on it somewhere where you can find some room to do it. Doesn't matter where. I do not accept this offer to contract, and I do not consent to these proceedings. All right, there it is. Very straightforward. It doesn't have to be in caps, but it has to be this, and I like to write it in caps. And then you do your autograph in this space that I blacked out so you can't see the name. And I'm going to talk about the autograph a little bit later. It's a little bit different than your signature. Your signature is in cursive text. This is in upper and lower case. It is your given name. And there's some other things you do with it, and I'm going to show you with what that is. And then at the bottom here, she wrote, without prejudice, UCC 1308. I usually write all rights reserved without prejudice. It's the same thing as doing this, okay? So that's what you write across here. And then you leave this blank for now because you're going to go to a notary public or a commissioner of oaths and get them to witness your signature. So you can write this in ahead of time, but it's your signature, or not your signature, rather your autograph in this case, that you want to have them witness. And you don't take no from them either if you can. I mean, some of them are so conflicted with the cabal, and some of them will not witness something like this, but their job is only to witness your signature and to make sure that you are who you say you are. It doesn't matter what it is you're actually putting your signature on. So a lot of them, they're not doing their job if they don't do this. So one of the things you want to do is find a notary or a commissioner of oaths outside the court. The court will do it for free. In the U.S., a lot of banks will do it. I'm not sure that that's the case in Canada, but you can go in Canada to the AMA if you remember, for example, the CAA, Canadian Auto, people that you get your registration from. So there are places to do it that are not conflicted. So you just need to be careful of that and find somebody that's going to witness your signature without all the other corporate corrupt crap that some of them come with. So that's what you put on it in this area, or whatever area that you find a space. And then you go get it witnessed, and you'll get a great big stamp from the notary public, and they will witness your signature, seeing you write it, and then they will stamp it and put a date on it that you are the person that you say you are. And so that's what you should expect to see on this document. So witness, get the autograph witnessed. Notary public or a commissioner of oaths, they're similar, but a notary public has more power, and a notary public has a lot more power in the U.S. It's actually higher than a judge in terms of the ranking of a notary public, not as much in Canada. So they are a little bit different. But that's that's who you need to find. And you can find an engineer that's a commissioner of oaths. You can find a doctor. There's all kinds of places to find them. You just need to do a little bit of research on that, okay? All right, so summary. See, it's that simple. And then what you do is you go in and you file it with the court. Let's go through the summary. So the 3-day rule, within 72 hours of being served, you need to turn this around and get it filed with the court. Write on the face of the original document on the first page, which is the summons, I do not accept this offer to contract, and I do not consent to these proceedings. And then write it, and I should say it, in blue ink or purple ink. Get it witnessed by a notary public or commissioner of oaths. So we've gone through that. And then once you've done that, file it with the court. And the court cannot lawfully deny you access to the court. So they have to accept it, and if they don't, you go talk to their supervisor and make sure that they understand that they're going to get sued if they don't do that. That it's unlawful not to allow you to defend yourself. That's a basic right. It is in the Bill of Rights in the U.S. and Canada. It doesn't matter. It's a basic right. And then get a receipt once you filed it. They will do that for you. And then just don't take no for an answer, okay? Now, your autograph, it's different than your signature. Your signature is, you can hardly read it. It's in cursive. And what you want to write for your autograph is by, and this is to differentiate it from the legal fiction name, because they will have on that document your legal name in capital, or your legal fiction name in capital letters, and you're differentiating it by saying, no, I'm a living man or a living woman, and here's my name. I'm signing it by, in upper and lower case, not cursive. Do your first name, and then you put in a hyphen, and if you have more middle names you're putting in, you put a hyphen between each one. Then you put a colon at the end of your God-given names, and then you have your last name. You put a little space in here after this colon, and then your last name with a period. Okay, and that's what you do, all in upper and lower case. You can do it on an angle, you can do it horizontal, you can do it, any way you want to, but it has to be this way, from a legal perspective. You don't want to give them any loopholes by which they can come back to you. So the court, just going over this again, the refusal to accept your court filing is unlawful, and they can be sued for a violation of your rights. Your rights would be to defend an allegation or a wrongdoing through the court. They can't stop you from doing that. And denying you access to the courts is huge. So either one of those is huge. And I would be, if you're going to get into going back at them, I would be suing them for like $250,000, something like that. This is a major wrong. So they need to understand the gravity of the situation. During martial law, they're denying you your rights amounts to treason, and we all know the remedy for treason. And we're in martial law in North America, and in fact all around the world right now. So this applies to anybody. So just know that you are safe. Getting a summons is no big deal. You now have the information you need to counter that. You just need to make sure that you get it filed within the 3-day period, 72 hours after you are served. So you should be served by a human being giving it to you, and that you can always, always fight. It should not come in a registered letter unless they've been trying to get hold of you for a year and haven't been able to do it. And they could then get the courts to allow them to send a registered letter, or even leave it on your doorstep. But know, if you get one, you have a remedy if you get back and file within 3 days and do it just the way I've shown you. Good luck.